Okay, in this video we are going to derive the quadratic formula. So this is a formula for solving a quadratic equation of the form ax squared plus bx plus c equal to 0, where a, b, and c are constants and x is the unknown. So the solution for this equation is given by minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And this here is what we call the quadratic formula. So that's what we want to derive today. Starting from here, how to get to that. Now, the process of doing this involves the technique of completing the square. If perhaps you're not up to speed with this, you can check our videos. We've got 2 videos on that one. Right, so let's get going then. How do we get from this equation to that formula there? Right, so starting from ax squared plus bx plus c equal to 0, the first thing I want to do is I'm going to take c to the other side. So the constant term, we're going to take it to the other side. It becomes negative c. Then we're going to divide through by a. So a here is non-zero, so we can divide by a. So when we do that, this is going to be x squared. This is going to be b over a x, and the right hand side is going to be minus c over a. And then now comes the completing the square step. So in completing the square, we need half of the coefficient of x. Now coefficient of x here is b over a, so half of that is going to give us b over 2a. So then the right hand side we're going to write as x plus b over 2a all squared. Okay, now in so doing we have added an extra term on this side, and that extra term is the square of this term here, or this term there. So the square of b over 2a, so in the numerator is going to be b squared, the denominator is going to be 4a squared. So in order for this equation to still be maintain equality, we're going to have to add that term on the right hand side. So we're going to have to add b squared over 4a squared. Okay, we are almost there. Now before we continue, because we're trying to make the subject of the formula x here, so the next thing will be to undo the square. But before we undo the square, it's going to be helpful for us to write the right hand side as a single fraction. Now the LCM between 4a squared and a is going to be 4a squared, because a divides into 4a squared. So I'm going to write 4a squared here. Then we're going to say how many times does a go into 4a squared. So that's the same as what is 4a squared divided by a. And 4a squared divided by a, if we just do it here, 4a squared divided by a is going to be 4a. So then we multiply that with c. So that means in the numerator, this side, we're going to have negative 4ac. Then we're going to ask the question, how many times does 4a squared go into 4a squared? Well, in that case, it goes once. Then we do 1 times b squared. So that is going to be b squared there. So we've got that side as a single fraction now. We can undo the square root. So we undo the square root by taking square roots on both sides. Okay. Now, whenever we take square roots, we are going to inherit a plus or minus sign, because the plus of a number squared is equal to the negative of that number squared. So I'm now going to switch these terms. I'm going to start with the positive term, b squared minus 4ac in the numerator divided by 4a squared. All right, so I just need to now move this term to the right hand side and simplify the right hand side ever so slightly. So this term becomes negative b over 2a plus or minus the square root. We can break it into 2. Square root of the numerator divided by square root of the denominator. Right, then square root of 4a squared is just 2a, because square root of 4 is 2. Square root of a squared is a. Now you're going to notice that the denominator is the same, so we can write this now as one fraction, and we have b squared minus plus or minus the square root of b. So we've got negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a, and this is our quadratic formula. All right.